Hey, it's Eric Hultgren, and on this episode of the podcast, as we continue to broadcast live from ESTO 2022, Gabe Saglie from TravelZoo stops by. And our next guest comes to us from TravelZoo. It is Gabe Saglie, my friend.
Nicely said.
How are you?
Great. Man, it's a lot of buzz back there.
There is a lot.
At the beer garden.
Yes.
But also people are excited to just hang out together and talk about their destinations and the fact that we're traveling again. It's just great news.
And both of those things are great news. And so for people who might not know, obviously TravelZoo is a sponsor of ESTO this year, which A, thank you, and B, kind of give us a 10,000-foot view of what TravelZoo is, and for these DMOs, like how do they get involved and what does it look like for them?
So yeah, it's hard to miss. It's so nice to see our names on these lanyards around everybody's necks. But yeah, TravelZoo is a global media company, and so we partner with destinations globally, and certainly a lot of great destinations here in the U.S., and we put them in front of our members. We have about 16 million members here in the U.S., 30-plus million around the world, who basically come to us for inspiration. Where do we want to go? What do we want to do? How do we want to get there? And so we partner with destinations, both big and small. And lately it's been more maybe small, more medium, off the beaten path, quirky places that people are ready to discover now again post-pandemic, and placing them in front of a very captive audience. My role personally is then taking that and putting it in with an editorial voice in front of people, whether it's on TV or radio, podcasts like this. But it's really sort of about expanding people's awareness of some of these great destinations from coast to coast, border to border, that people have access to now in a much bigger way as we exit the pandemic.
So how did you end up at Travel? Like, what's your journey? How do you end up in this chair?
My journey. I think I'm the fourth longest employed individual at the company.
Is that on a placard? Do you have that? Okay.
It's being printed up as we speak. August is my 17th year with the company. And it's a relatively young company founded in 1998. Founded by two German brothers with whom I worked on a wine website previously. And when they decided to fold that, to kind of finish that off, and they said to me, we're going to start a travel website. You want to come along? I said, well, I was starting my broadcast journalism career. I became a writer in San Diego, a news writer. And so they went off, and I started then to hear about TravelZoo. Hey, I think that's the website that these guys were going to launch. And then in 05 we came back together, and I've tried to sort of bring my background, which is in broadcast journalism, and sort of editorially inspiring a large audience to do certain things, and fold it into the travel space, which is such a great industry. I mean, it's such a dynamic group of people. So it's been a very happy relationship ever since.
That's awesome. And so what's this year been like for you guys, right? Like you said, things have almost completely opened up, and now people are thinking about traveling. So members join TravelZoo, and like, what's it been like for you?
Well, from the pandemic was quite interesting for the industry as a whole, obviously. We went through some major, some painful moments there at the very beginning, March 2020, April 2020. Our company now is a little bit of a sort of a leaner entity, but there's obviously some great enthusiasm out there, and you're feeling it amongst the people here. There's a lot of appetite. I think what people are looking to consume from a travel perspective is a little bit different now.
How so?
Well, I think people are willing to. Travel is less of a cost and more of an investment, at least on the short term now, where people are simply willing to maybe stay a little bit longer in a destination. If they're going to a destination that they've been to before, what is there else to do? What's new? How can I experience this? I love Hawaii, but how can I experience Hawaii a little bit differently? What road should I take that's different from the path I've been down before? They're staying at these destinations a little longer. They're traveling in larger groups. I think they're trying to make larger memories overall, and that might be sort of a short-term, just sort of a knee-jerk reaction to the sudden ability to travel all over again. But it is a wonderful opportunity for destinations to put themselves in front of what is a very captive and very hungry audience. The appetite is there, and it's really, and an event like this. And this is my first ESTO appearance. We've been at this. My colleagues have been here for many years. But clearly there is an appetite to share a lot of insights and information. What are you doing in Grand Rapids that someone in Mesa, Arizona can glean some insight from, or someone in Fresno, California,
sure.
What have you. I mean, there is a very collaborative sense in the air, and it's kind of nice to see. And just interesting, how do we navigate the world of social media versus influencers versus paid advertising, when at the end of the day we're just trying to encourage people to sort of venture beyond their front door and discover something in some place new.
What way have destinations been doing that well, and what ways have you seen them struggle?
I think the struggle comes from the fact that it's very hard to just put your finger on the pulse of what exactly TikTok is and how I can use it to reach that audience that is going to then respond to my message. How do I use Facebook? How do I use LinkedIn? How do I use Pinterest? I'm hearing more people maybe going back to traditional print advertising, maybe television. Television got some nice review from some destinations in a recent breakout session. Some of the most traditional avenues are starting to come back as viable options for these destinations to put themselves in front of a captive audience. So that's what makes it tough. What makes it exciting is when you find that one little nugget. Oh my gosh, we did this one experience with an influencer that resulted in doubling and tripling of both their and our audience size on this one particular platform. That's a win. If you can sort of help, it's such a diverse space out there, and there's so much going on behind the scenes that you're trying to wrap your head around, that just to be able to call out some of these successes is a big thing. TravelZoo uses all of these platforms, all of this media, but each one is its own little monster that we're trying to tame. There have been more wins than not, but we learn from the times that we've gone down the wrong way, and we use that to make sure we amplify the next opportunity that much more.
So Gabe, how does a destination interact with you to make sure that they kind of rise above the din? Like, do you interview them? Like, what does that relationship look like, so that when I, the member, go to TravelZoo and go, like right now I'm being served something for Ireland, right? Like, how did the Ireland thing come up versus, let's say, San Diego, right?
And I'm glad you mentioned Ireland. We have a great long-standing relationship with Tourism Ireland. And I get to go out there about 2-3 times a year to cover St. Patrick's Day and Halloween, because it started there, it turns out, 3,000 years ago. It actually starts, it's a very hands-on, personal process. I mean, it starts at the ground level here. People making connections at an event like ESTO. Who are you? What do you do? What do you do? What do you want to aim? What are you aiming for? What do you want to get out of a relationship with a company like ours, which is we're a media company. We're publishing different products. And it starts at that ground level. We pride ourselves on having people physically on the ground across the country. We're also global, so we're also in Europe. We're also in Canada. And it's having these sort of experts on the ground who know their own destination really, really well, and have these very personal interactions with members of different marketing organizations across the country and around the world. And then you build from there and really try to create, although we have these sort of general products, if you will, whether it's a showcase on our website, on our blog, whether it's the ability to send out targeted emails to certain parts of the country, whether it's creating video nuggets that we'll push out through our Instagram page, or a Facebook Live event that we'll host at your destination. At the end of the day, it's very much specific to the destination itself and what that team wants to get out of the experience. So very much a one-on-one relationship.
So for you, Gabe, then do you have a region or a list of clients? Like how many Gabes exist in the TravelZoo ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny. I am in charge of a small, what we call our spokes team. I mean, the fact that I work with a lot of folks who are experts in very specific fields of travel. In our Miami office, I've got colleagues who just know the cruise industry really well and have penetrated that industry very well, know the heads of all kinds of departments there. But as far as doing what I do, I'm actually kind of the only guy who does it on as regular a basis as I do, because I basically am on about 2 or 3 times a week on a variety of different media stations, from LA to New York to Chicago to Houston. It's a very market-specific experience for me. So if I'm in Los Angeles and I work with a station called KTLA out there, what does the LA audience want? What are they interested in? Right now, Southern California is all about cruising is getting a lot of buzz. They're looking to travel domestically, but to sort of off the beaten path destinations. And Europe is really hot right now as well. So we'll create content editorially, drawing from what TravelZoo might have might be featuring at the moment, but really sort of editorially presenting it in a way that's consumer friendly and accessible. It sounds really fancy, but at the end of the day, it's just being able to get the information that is timely, relevant, in the news today, and making it easier for people to use so they can then plan their next trip sooner rather than later.
So you're the Ryan Seacrest of TravelZoo then?
Yeah. I like to think of it as Ryan Seacrest is a Gabe Saglie of iHeartRadio, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But yes, something like that, you could say. Yeah.
So it's your first time here. You know, you came in a day early, kind of got a couple days here.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to? And like, what when you leave on Wednesday, what will make Gabe go, man, I can't wait to do this again?
So I'm riding the coattails of some of our sales team members who are going to be trying to make some of these connections and some of these very fruitful relationships happen. I'm looking for trends. I'm looking for story angles. What is a particular destination seeing? Is like who are the folks coming into that part of the country right now? Is it a drive market? Is it Canadians flying in because they've heard that there's some great adventure experience to be had there? So who's coming? Who do you want to see come, and what are the things you're doing to get them there? And seeing if there's either a common thread there or just things that are unique. So I'm looking for story angles and ideally some trends so we can continue to make projections about where we see travel going between now and the end of the year, next year, the next 5 to 10 years, as we continue to ride this sort of post-COVID wave far, far away from where we've been the last couple of years, you know?
Gabe, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to kind of get involved, either on the destination side or if somebody's listening to this and go, what is this website where I can learn to travel in cool places?
Yeah.
How do they reach you guys?
Great. Well, we're at TravelZoo.com, and of course we're on all the social, the @TravelZoo on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, et cetera, and I'm out there, as well, @Gabe Saglie. Always happy to make a connection.
Gabe?
Happy to connect with you guys. This has been fun. Thank you.
Thank you for stopping by, man. This was awesome.
You got it. Thanks.